The folks over at Microsoft have issued some information, some statements here that look really impressive regarding their commitment to doubling down on the gaming space, especially around their Game Pass feature. And there's a lot of really cool details here that I want to dig into. Let's take a look. Okay, so I'm gonna skip their whole big press release about there's billions of gamers out there and we want to target that and blah blah blah. We're amazing. Okay, let's look at some of their actual stats. So the first big chunk of information they released is basically saying that Xbox Game Pass is successful, right? Then they're getting into what are their plans for Xbox Game Pass in the future. Let's address what they're basically saying about the success of the Game Pass service, because I think some people might be worrying like, okay, if developers put their game on Game Pass, are people just going to play it there and not actually buy the game? Or, is this actually helping people make money? Well, they're claiming here that with games like Outriders and MLB The Show, the games were not only incredibly popular on Game Pass, but they also were still top-selling games. So they sold well and they were on Game Pass, and they're claiming that people are playing games more when they're on Game Pass and still spending more on the games. Because just because the game's free in Game Pass doesn't mean you can't buy more DLC and microtransactions and all of that. So they're saying things like when it's purchasing games inside or outside of what's available in the library or purchasing additional content for the games they like, members spend 50% more than non-members. So they're saying that Game Pass members are actually playing games more and spending more, and games that are on Game Pass not only do well on Game Pass, but they also sell well regardless. Okay, now that's their big spiel about, okay, Game Pass works. Okay. Now, their plan for Game Pass. They're really, really doubling down on the cloud streaming element, which until now has been limited to phones. And, that's cool. It has some latency issues, but I see some really, really exciting stuff here. So first of all, they're planning on expanding it to browsers within a few weeks. And they're going to get it soon, I don't think we had an exact timeline on it, into the Xbox PC Game Pass app, and they'll be getting it up and running on consoles. So basically, the cloud streaming beta that's been limited to phones is about to become the real deal and expanded all over the place. They're also saying that they're getting those cloud servers up and running with their next-gen game hardware, the Series X and S, for running those games. So you'll be running the highest-end versions of the games when you're doing that. Now, if you're thinking, okay, but I'm still not that into the cloud streaming thing, I agree. I wouldn't want to use the cloud streaming myself as my main way of playing a game, except for a couple of possibilities. One thing that they mention here, and I think this is fantastic, is like a try before you buy. We've all spent 20 hours or whatever it takes to download some massive 120 gigabyte game, right? Like some games are massive nowadays. And you spend all that time downloading it, and then what if you end up not really liking the game? So one great convenience quality of life feature of this cloud streaming being expanded is that, let's say you're a Game Pass Ultimate member, well, I can just start streaming a game to see if I like it. I can demo it as a streaming service, and if I'm really liking it and I have a good gaming PC, now I can actually download the game. Or console gamers, same idea. You can download the game after you've tried it out, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Not to mention the fact that, especially with graphics cards as expensive as they are now and all of that, some of us aren't really running the graphics horsepower in our PCs that we like. And on single player games or anything that's just not super competitive or time sensitive, the latency in the cloud streaming can be pretty good, although that can depend on your location compared to where one of their servers are located. But for a lot of people, cloud gaming could be a good thing. And okay, what are they expanding it to? They're working with TV manufacturers to embed the Xbox experience directly into internet-connected televisions with no extra hardware required except a controller. In other words, all you gotta buy is an Xbox controller, and then you just install the app on your smart TV, and away you go. You're playing every major Xbox game through the cloud. Awesome. That could be really cool and expand their brand and get them a lot more subscribers. Okay, they're looking at different subscription options to open things up. I'm wondering if they're looking at different tiers beyond their like maybe lower price tiers with more limited access to things. I'm not 100% sure on that. But they're looking at new subscription offerings. They're working with telecommunications providers on new purchasing models like Xbox All Access, which allows consumers to buy both the console and Game Pass for a low monthly price rather than spending money up front. So this is similar to how I'm pretty sure they launched with their next-gen consoles, where you could buy the console bundled with Game Pass, and overall you'd end up paying less than if you were buying the console up front and paying for Game Pass. And let's face it, a lot of people don't have a lot of just upfront cash, but would like to have the thing, and they might be able to sign up for a low monthly fee rather than having that barrier of entry, right? If they want to gain more subscribers to this service, having a low barrier of entry is a big deal, and it looks like that's what they're talking about here, which I think is a big win for how much they'll be able to sell. Okay, they're looking at building its own streaming devices for cloud gaming to reach gamers on any TV or monitor without the need for a console at all. In other words, let's say that you don't have a TV that's capable of doing this on its own, right? You have an older TV, it's not a smart TV, or it's just not a very good smart TV, whatever. Well, they're looking at selling some sort of a device that plugs into your TV that's going to be super cheap to just get you up and running Game Pass directly on your TV without actually buying a big gaming console that's expensive. They're looking at cloud gaming through Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which will be launching in Australia, Brazil, Mexico, and Japan later this year. So they're definitely expanding the availability of these services. Now, in the next few weeks, cloud gaming, this is what I mentioned earlier, on the browsers, right? So in Edge, Chrome, and Safari, I'm so glad they're not being like, and you must use Microsoft Edge. That would be a disaster. Anyway, Edge, Chrome, and Safari support, like I said, they're saying coming in the next few weeks. Awesome. I think that is fantastic. And it says they're in the final stages of, like I mentioned, upgrading to the Xbox Series X in their data centers. So when you're doing that cloud streaming, you're going to be getting better load times, frame rates, and the optimized games. And they'll be adding cloud gaming directly into the Xbox app on the PC. And again, I mentioned that. I think all of this is fantastic. Now, they're also claiming that one of their big aspects here is their pipeline of games. Because I know one criticism of Game Pass is, well, there's a few first-party titles that are AAA, and they may or may not be your thing, and a lot of the other stuff is indie titles, and do you really want to be spending $15 a month to just play some indie titles that aren't that expensive to begin with? Fine. Well, with more than 23 studios worldwide creating games for Xbox, our goal is to release at least one new first-party game into Game Pass every quarter. Think about that. A first-party Microsoft game added to the Game Pass service every quarter. That could do a lot to bolster this service. And if those first-party games stay in Game Pass, which I think is the plan, after a while, you're going to have a big catalog of first-party games as built into this service. So I think that's a big move, because it's a valid concern when people say, I don't want to stay subscribed to the service. And honestly, I unsubscribed when I didn't have a lot of gaming time because, there was a few games that I was happy. I really enjoyed Game Pass for a while, but I'm actually not currently subscribed. I might resubscribe now that it's summer and I'll have a little more free time. But anyway, I'm glad to see that they're committed to a lot of first-party development going on to Game Pass. All right. And then they're just talking more about how they've been getting developers lots of money through the service and all of that. Anyway, I'm very excited about all of this. Like I said, the cloud streaming thing isn't really my thing, but I love the idea of a try before you buy type of idea. And then I think for people on more limited gaming hardware, the cloud streaming actually is really awesome. If you play the right type of games where latency isn't an issue, I think it's really a very good option, actually. yeah, so I'm excited that Microsoft is doubling down on everything and that they're not just focusing on their consoles. As a PC gamer, I like that they're bringing this to web browsers and the Xbox app, and I look forward to trying a lot of this out in the future. What do you all think about it in the comments section? I read every comment on my channel. I reply to as many as I can, and as always, thank you to my subscribers. You guys are beautiful people. Where's my unrecord? Stop recording. But there it is. Bye.